Hello, everyone. Before we get started with today's podcast episode, let's go ahead and go over some housekeeping rules. If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify, be sure to hit the follow notification button so Spotify lets you know when I release a new episode. As well, leave me a comment on what you enjoy about the podcast and give me a 5-star rating. This is how you can support my podcast. And the disclaimer is, I am not a licensed psychiatrist or therapist. My suggestions and my guests are based on general knowledge and life experiences. If you're considering making significant changes or dealing with personal issues, seek and talk to a licensed mental health professional. So let's go ahead and get into today's episode. Blessed Day Reflection by Abia listeners. My name is Abia Grant, and we're here to reflect on our life journey. We will be discussing topics related to self-awareness, self-improvement, and mental health. Also, the purpose of this safe space is for us to be free to discuss the ups and downs, celebrate the wins, and talk about ways to improve the lows. So welcome to this podcast, and I hope you gain something from the time we share together. Hello, everyone, and how are you doing? It is your girl, Abia Grant. Welcome back to another episode of Reflection by Abia. I hope you guys are doing well and that you are having a blessed and glorious day. At the time of recording this episode, it is May 23rd. We are like a couple of days into, or a couple of days before June. And I'm just like, right now in New York, New Jersey, tri-state area, it's been cold. It's been cold this past couple of days, which I am honestly not understanding. So I am wondering, to be real with you, where is the warmth? Where is the heat? Because I don't know if maybe I'm just asking for it too early, but I am not a fan of these like 40, 50 degree temperatures. Like, I don't know. I've never been a fan. I do not like the cold. I've always said to myself that, I would love to live in like where the climate is like mid-climate. Like, I could do a good 60, 70 degrees. Once it hits 80, 90, I'm like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to have like Florida weather or Arizona weather, but I like a nice good 60 to 70 degrees. But the past couple of days, it's been in the 50s and it's been raining. So I just have not been enjoying that this past week and everything. I know I'm coming on here and I'm venting to you guys about the weather, but that's just the first thing that popped into my head. And I was just like, I have to talk to somebody about it, because is anybody dealing with the cold like me? Like, I'm not liking it. I'm not liking it. Today, I think the highs is going to be in the upper 60s, but it possibly is still going to rain. So let's just see how this whole situation is going to go. I'm hoping that the weather starts to improve and get better, because I'm just so over the cold temperatures. Like, it's not winter, it's spring. Like, give me the spring freaking temperatures, okay? I would definitely appreciate that. All right. So let's go ahead and get into this week's episode now that I've done ranted about the weather. And this week I wanted to do kind of like a reflection type of episode. I guess you could say, well, it's a reflection. It's just, I guess it's a little bit of self-awareness. Well, actually, it's more self-awareness, I think, than self-reflection, or maybe it's a combination of both. But this week I wanted to talk about affirmations because I actually saw a commercial this week on TV. I'm not going to name who the particular brand was, but it is a soap brand. And basically the commercial shows a young black child in the mirror. She's in her robe. I'm not sure if you guys, I'm giving you the description right now. So if you guys come across it, maybe you could pay attention, to it. So let me go back into it. Young girl, she's in the bathroom. I believe she's in a robe. She's in front of the mirror. Her mom is talking to her. And as her mom is talking to her, she is giving words of affirmation. And then the child is repeating those words of affirmation. I found the commercial to be very cute and everything. Honestly didn't know how it related much to the soap. I guess they're trying, I don't know. That's a whole nother situation. Maybe if I watch it again, I'll, have more context or understanding how it's related to soap. But it's interesting to me why they picked that particular practice of affirmations. Okay. And I was like, I think I want to do a podcast episode on this, because the fact of the matter is that I personally always wonder, do affirmations actually work? Like, just because you say something positive to yourself, like, does it change anything? Because I kind of feel like you could say all the words and all the things, but unless you're necessarily implementing them, then how are they going to really work? And I'm going to get into the definition of affirmations, but I guess, like, with affirmations, it's about, maybe if you're saying those positive things, then you're going to have a different mental mindset, maybe. So that was just my thoughts about it at that particular point, prior to going and delving and understanding affirmations and all that, which I'm going to have for you guys today and talk to you guys about, today. Because I'm the kind of person where I'm not sure if you could tell, once I hone in on something, like, I want to take a deep dive and I want to understand all the mechanisms and how things work, and that's just how I feel like I learn. So as I said, I believe that, affirmations, only time affirmations could come to fruition is if you're actually implementing those affirmations. Okay. I feel that there's no results if you're not, again, doing the necessary steps. Okay. So I want to start off with, like, what affirmations are, just so that we have a foundation and better just, details about it. So affirmations are typically statements you repeat out loud or in writing about something you want to achieve or be. By repeating them consistently, you begin to believe that they can come true. Most affirmations that I've come across is verbal. I guess you can write them down, but I've never really wrote affirmations down like that. Well, actually, that's a lie. My vision board has some affirmations. Does it really? I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, it actually has some affirmations. I have one here where it says, "Don't be afraid to fail." I guess that's an affirmation. Now, the thing is that I dug deeper and I wanted to understand the theory behind particularly self-affirmations, and, like, how does the brain, like, necessarily work and all that. So we're going to cite our sources, because I got this information off of intelligentchange.com. They had information on here about a social psychologist. His name is Claude Steele, and basically he did a theory, and it seems like his theory is the all theory, like the theory that explain everything in a way I guess people could understand and that it makes sense. So we're going to go over what is self-affirmation theory. So it says here, self-affirmation is activated by threatening information, those that confront our inadequacy or integrity. The purpose of self-affirmations is restoring the perception of ourselves as adequate, moral, competent, good, coherent, stable, capable of free choice, or controlling important outcomes. Okay, so that's the theory. Now it says all this is achieved through explanation, rationalization, and action. So basically, I guess he's saying that self affirmations, the only way to necessarily get over feeling inadequate or feeling like your integrity is being, I guess, questioned. You have to be able to explain the situation, rationalize the situation, and to take action against the situation. So, you know me, I'm going to dig deeper. I'm going to get my shovel and I'm going to start digging deeper. So, I was like, what does explanation mean? All right. So, explanation is an understanding of what happened and why. Basically, it's clarity. So, my guess is that you're trying to find maybe clarity on the reason why you're feeling a certain way if something happens, or you are feeling emotionally in a turmoil or what have you. You need to understand the reason why you're feeling that way, and you need to have clarity in the reason why you're feeling that way. And maybe once you feel that or have that answer, you're able to move on to the next step. That's what I'm guessing. It is. I'm talking to you guys like straight. I didn't take any notes, anything like that. Like, I'm just processing as I'm reading it to you guys, even though I have definitions here and stuff, because this is how I want to do this episode. Okay. So let's go to rationalization. What that means: it's justification for why you felt or did a certain thing. So rationalization, I'm guessing when it comes to self-affirmation theory, is rationalizing, like, maybe why. I'm guessing it's rationalizing why you feel the way that you feel. I guess is rationalizing that you don't necessarily have to be uncomfortable, because it does say that because self-affirmation is threatening. I think it's threatening to you. Like I said, your inadequacy and your integrity. So you're rationalizing the reason why you feel some way about this, and maybe you're trying to then use the action step in order to be like, okay, I am not this individual, or I'm not this thing. So I'm going to say these positive things about myself in order to pull myself out of this thinking process or thought process. Maybe that's the reason, or how that is applied is, in that theory is, rationalizing part. I know I just probably repeated myself, but does that make any sense? It makes sense to me. It makes sense, in my brain. Kind of makes sense when I was talking to you guys. Is that you're just trying to find justification for, okay, you feel some type of way, and maybe you don't need to feel that type of way, and I'm going to say these positive things in order to not feel this particular way. Okay, that's what I'm thinking. How that's applied in resolving these feelings. So the last one is action. Action is your response to the situation. So obviously this is the corrective part. This is the part where you're telling yourself that, you're not incompetent. You're telling yourself that you are competent and you're able to maybe achieve whatever you want to achieve. Or you are not feeling like, okay, I don't have any control over this situation. They says that here you want to feel stable. So maybe you're like, okay, if I take control of the situation, then that means that I am going to achieve, again, the goals I want to achieve. I'm not feeling uncomfortable. I'm not feeling like I'm lost, I guess you can say. Maybe that could be part of it. So I think some self-affirmations you see out there is like, I am, I don't even know really like an affirmation for loss, but let's just throw one out there. Like, I am not confused about this relationship. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, this relationship can be resolved if I do dot 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 dot. You know what I mean? Like, maybe that makes sense. I don't know if that made any sense, to be honest with you guys. But it's like you are taking corrective action to fix said situation. Like, okay, relationship dot dot dot, and this is what I am going to do in order to not feel like this situation is not going to be successful for me. Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning into Reflection by Abia. Feel free to check out the podcast Facebook and Instagram page. The links will be available in the show notes. Let's get back to the podcast. I dove a little deeper and I wanted to explore self affirmations, and I wanted to look at the three, I guess, factors. And I wanted to look at explain, I wanted to look at rationalize, and I wanted to look at action. And I specifically wanted to look at it when it comes to self affirmations, even though I've kind of explained it a little bit. But I want to read my notes here that I jotted down. It says, when we explain what happened, affirmations can help us be truthful with ourselves, which leads to growth. So you are explaining the situation, or if you were not to explain the situation, then you'll still be in a point of your life where you are maybe not getting the things that you want to get out of it. You will be stagnant. I'm guessing that will be the right word to use. So if you're able to explain the situation, then that means that you are eventually going to lead to growth. So those positive affirmations of I can do this, I can win, I'm strong, whatever positive things that you're saying to yourself, then that will, over time, that will lead to you being different than who you were in the beginning. So I guess in that context, it makes sense. Like, the reason why I wanted to do this episode again, just going back to a little bit at the beginning, is because I wanted to see like if this is a good tool to use, especially when it comes down to like mental health. A lot of negative thoughts comes into our head when we have mental health issues. I've heard people say, use positive affirmations. This is going to help you through what you're going through, and I'm attest to that, where I've told other people that as well too. It's like, write down the things that is going to, or say the things, not necessarily write it down, but say the things that is going to uplift you. Remind yourself of those things, cite those things to yourself, because that is going to help you with whatever that you're going through at that point. But let's go back and get into what I have discovered when it comes to self-affirmation. So when we rationalize in a positive way, because the thing is, like, most times, or at least when I was doing my research, when they talk about rationalizing, most say you're rationalizing in a negative way. Like, you're rationalizing in order to benefit yourself and make yourself be comfortable. However, I feel like you can rationalize yourself in a positive way. How you do that is creating accountability, and you are providing reasoning to the situation. I don't know how many times I've sat down with myself and I have rationalized, okay, Abia, you are doing XYZ, this was XYZ result, and what part of it did not work that you need to be accountable for it so that you can make a better decision for the next occurrence, So honestly, I feel like you can rationalize and come to a conclusion that, okay, there needs to be some improvement. You know what I'm saying? Like, rationalizing allows you to basically find a new perspective that maybe you didn't think about in the get-go, or when you were in XYZ situation. Like I said, it's happened to me a lot. It even happened to me yesterday. Like, I was sitting down at my desk at my job, and normally the energy I get from people is the same energy I give back. That's just how I am, and I'm trying to be a better person. And I said, you know what? I rationalized the situation, or maybe I just thought about it. I don't know. I guess rationalizing was applied here. But anyways, I didn't give the energy that the other person was giving to me. I just said, you know what, Abia, this is, how you are. So this is how this is going to end. So therefore, just let it go. you know. And that was just me playing out the scene, you know what I mean? And starting off a way in which I know, initially it wasn't going to work out because I was just thinking about giving the person the same energy that they were giving me. But it was me sitting down and coming to a new perspective, and me just using affirmations and saying, Bia, you are better than this. Abia, this is not you. Abia, you're trying to be a better person. Abia, you're not trying to open up um, drama if it doesn't need to be drama. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it was just kind of just reciting those things. And I know it sounds funny, and maybe some people won't consider it to be an affirmation, but I consider it to be affirmations because they're affirmations to stop me from going off. So, and I don't like to be that person. So I have to cite those things to myself and say those things to myself. So, like I said, that's rationalization. I know I went on a whole deep dive with that. Let's get into the last one. When we say affirmations, we take action. We start to grow because we are actually making changes to our own lives. So when we take actions with our affirmations that we do say to ourselves, this changes our lives. As you can see, it's like I said with the other situation I talked about a minute ago. This changed my life because I how can I say this? These small little parts of me changing myself is changing my life for the better because it's teaching me how I want to be better and how I want to improve myself. You know what I'm saying? So the affirmations and the staying consistent with it, you know what I mean, is slowly but surely been affecting my life in a positive way. So I could understand how you have to be actionable in your affirmations. Like I said, it's just not about a word. You gotta actually put it to use. So the next question I ask myself is, have affirmations shifted my negative thoughts to positive thoughts? Because I explained before, I wasn't using affirmations, and I started using affirmations because it was a thing. I saw it all over doing places and stuff saying use affirmations and everything. With my mental health, I thought a lot of negative things in my brain. And they come here and there now as well too, but we are better than how we were before. So the way I wanted to, like I phrased in this question is, I wanted to see, like, if I say positive affirmations, would it shift me to a better mindset? Yeah, see what I'm saying? Of more positive thoughts, And I can say it has helped me feel more control of my life. Okay. Affirmations have. I use them. As I said before, it makes me feel more control of my life. It's also stopped me from making poor choices. I spoke about that before. It stopped me from making poor choices because before I would definitely go down the rabbit hole of not the person who I want to be, and that result would be not the result that I wanted to be. The next part I want to talk about is, as I said before, I don't feel like affirmations are just words. Like, they're words, but it's implementing those words. However, how I use affirmations is I combine it with something else. Okay? I combine it with other practices because I feel like it's just on its own, it doesn't work out for me. Maybe you are different, and it could work out for you without adding other parts to it. I feel like I have more, how can I say? It's like I have more power, I have more assertiveness, I have more tools in order to achieve whatever I'm trying to achieve, or change about myself what I'm trying to change about, or remind myself what I'm trying to remind myself about. with affirmations, one of the things I do is visualize. I visualize on who I want to be or how I want this situation to turn out to be. As I told you guys before, when I was speaking about the whole situation at my job, is I visualize, okay, Abia, you say these positive things to yourself. This is who you're modeling behind these particular words. However, you need to visualize a situation on how you know that this is going to turn out because you've been here and you've done this before. So this is probably going to be the outcome because it really doesn't change too much. And do you want that outcome to be that way? And I combine those two. I combine the affirmations, I combine the visualizing, and it helps me to make the best decision for myself. It's like, I don't know. It's like, it's just a helpful for me if I visualize. Maybe because I'm such a visual person just in general. But yeah. So the next one is I take actual steps to bring what I want to life. So this is action. Okay. So in conjunction of affirmations, I'm using action in order to basically show or bring to life what I want for my particular life. It's just not about, again, me citing words. Okay. Now, the next one I do is I do a lot of breathing. I do a lot of breathing. And I'm not talking about you sitting there and go and breathing in and out, in and out, in and out. I'm just talking about I may just sit down and I'll do a slow breath. Slow breathing calms me. Okay. And maybe if you're not using slow breath, guys, in your life, I suggest you to use slow breath in your life. It really helps calm the nerves, especially if you deal with anxiety, especially panic attacks and things like that. It really, really, really helps because I find like when we don't do it, it's like we lose more control. When I have anxiety attacks, it's a lot of times because I feel like I've lost control. So that slow breath it brings me back to my body, and it helps me just be able to think about my thoughts more clearly, without them being so erratic because of my anxiety. But how I do it with affirmations, and how I basically feel is that it helps me clear my head so I can make the best choices. So slow breath, positive words of encouragement, or positive words of this is who I am, or what have you, allows me to make better choices for myself. Because when I don't combine these two, and I just say a word, it don't hit the way it needs to hit. So it's like, what's the point? Why are we even here? Okay. But that is really what I gathered for affirmations. Is like, do they really work? In closing, they do. At the end of the day, they do work. Affirmations do work. But for me, affirmations work in conjunction with something else, some other practice. That's how they work for me. So I want you guys to put it to use, even if you just use only affirmations. And I want you guys to see if it works out, or maybe implement your actions, implement your affirmations with another type of practice and see if that works out for you in that particular way. The point is that positive words, they can make a change in your life, but you gotta be consistent. You gotta really want it. You have to be motivated, which I guess that means consistent as well too. But eternally, you have to be motivated that you want to see better for yourself. So I want to leave a quote for you guys to close out this week's episode. And the quote says, "Speak life over yourself, then walk in the direction of your words. Faith without movement is just a whisper." So to me, this just means that you could have all the faith and say all the words, but without actually movement and implementing it, it's just words. So we have to be resilient and we have to want to do the work and change ourselves. And that's the only way that we're going to see the improvement that we want to see. So guys, that is where I leave this week's episode. I hope that this episode was helpful for you guys and that you, again, as I say with every week's episode, that you gained something from something I said here, and that it just, also just reminds you that when I come here, I'm not, I guess you could say I'm a little bit of a teacher, but I just want to be able to have discussions with you guys that maybe you never thought about, or things I've thought about, and I'm just like, let me just talk about it with you, all. So I just hope that I'm bringing something that it's helpful for your journey and everything. I know it's helpful for me because it just reminds me of the things that I need to continue to do for my own journey. Okay, so yeah. All right, that's where I'm going to leave this week's podcast episode. So stay blessed out there in those streets. Make sure that you treat others kindly out there in those streets. And God willing, I will see you guys in next week's episode. All right, have a good day, guys. Happy Friday, or whatever day you may be listening to this. Happy day, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Bye. Thank you for listening to Reflection by Abia. Let me know in the comment section what you thought about today's episode and share the podcast with your friends and family. The link will be available in the show notes.